You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Hour, the show that brings you unfiltered stories and insight from the Twin Cities real estate world with your hosts, Chris Rooney, broker at RE/MAX Preferred, and Andy Presky, leader of the Preferred Home Team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
OGI.
Hola. Andy must be leading his team at Preferred Home Team right now.
Yeah, he's hard at work. And where are you? In the hotel?
I always go to a hotel for this podcast. See?
Oh, yeah? You're a traveling man?
It's my nice furniture. Yes. I actually am in Omaha, Nebraska. I took off on Tuesday, and I've been saying, and you know this very well of me, I say I'm going to do something, and then I always kind of let work get in the way of that. And so I am in Omaha, Nebraska at the College World Series that I said I'm going to go to for at least 20 years, at least. So
good showing, lots of fans, exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm into the baseball thing. Actually coached for many years, really enjoyed it, played for many years and coached after that. And I'm kind of really into the inner workings of the game, and because baseball can be quite boring if you don't really understand it. But once you understand it, it's probably one of the best games there is, because there's so much more to it than what maybe the average fan, casual fan would see. So it's fun. It's been fun. But I'll tell you what, I am very sore. I walked around that stadium like 5 times. I went around the whole stadium like 3 different times, up and down stairs, back and forth to parking lots, because there's 2 games and they spread them out. So they got to get everyone out of the stadium. And I have that Sprinter. So that worked out really good. I could go in there and hang out rather than sit at a bar or something, but got work done in between. It's fantastic. I'm having fun.
Beautiful. Yeah, I made a big switch too. I left Belo Horizonte. Now I'm in the northeast, Joa Pessoa. And man, so there's a stereotype in the south is kind of where all the European immigrants came, and it's more developed down there. I had a beautiful time in Florianópolis. Obviously, you got Rio de Janeiro more in the middle, Sao Paulo, the financial center of Brazil. And then in the northeast, every Brazilian has told me it is extremely impoverished. It is so dangerous. It is so dirty and not safe. And be careful, be super careful. And my perception has been completely blown. I'll probably put some photos up here later, but I mean, there's skyscrapers everywhere. The streets are clean. The beaches are nice. Everything is functioning properly. The people speak a lot more English than I'm used to. I mean, it's amazing. So, and it's way cheaper. The Northeast is obviously way cheaper than the rest of Brazil. And I'm having a great time. I've been here for a week.
When you say that, Nick, when you say way cheaper, what do you mean by that?
Oh, I think most people here are making like $200 or $300 a month.
As that's their salary a month.
Yeah, that's like the minimum wage in Brazil, but a lot of people in the Northeast make the minimum wage. So, yeah. And the last city was like 500, 600 they were making, but it's very freaking nice. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this, but here's my view out my room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty darn modern, right? When you think of Brazil, you don't think about that, do you?
Do you have you don't have a chair there, do you?
No, I'm still trying to figure that one out. The beach bash. What is that, Andy?
A beach Oh, I'm sorry. You don't live the lifestyle I live. Going from beach to beach.
Okay.
And drinking all day, wearing flip-flops. But you'll learn about it someday, kid.
Someday.
That's a preferred home team.
Good, Nick.
I was just saying I made a big move to the northeast of Brazil, and it shattered many perceptions, and I'm happy to be here.
Is that closer to where you're doing your football?
Yeah, so I switched teams. I stopped getting paid in my last team, and so there's some drama, and luckily I kind of built a name for myself already here, and people wanted me. So I got in a good program that has a lot of history. Then actually, they like this football team more than their soccer teams here, because this team actually wins, and this region's known for being kind of like very extremely poor and impoverished, and like this is like the pride of their state.
Wow.
like it's a smaller state in Brazil, and so they actually have more support for their American football team than soccer team. And soccer is a religion in Brazil, so that should show you how kind of crazy it is.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
How big of a town is it?
It's the capital of the state, so it's about 1 million people.
Yeah, so still big. Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that because there's so much. I guess this was the greenest city in the world until recently. I guess Paris overtook it, which shocked me because I don't remember Paris being that green, as in like trees and reservations. But they built high, like I showed you. They just build the tall apartments that people stay in, not necessarily as many homes. But it's amazing.
He thinks that's impressive, Andy. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean,
what are you down there for the World Series? I'm assuming, or the?
I am.
Are you?
College World Series. I was just telling earlier to Nick that I've been saying I'm going to do this for 20 years, and I never did it. I finally said, forget it. I'm out. I'm gone. I'm doing it. So,
did you run into my buddy Mark down there?
Oh, what?
Our buddy Mark, our mutual buddy Mark.
Was Stolpus down? Was he down here?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know.
Same exact verbiage you just said. It's been a lifetime thing for me. I've always wanted to go. I've never gone. Mm-hmm. And now the girls are off doing their own thing with college and jobs. And he goes, I'm going down there. So he did.
Oh, that's neat. I haven't seen anyone. It's kind of unusual. I mean, I usually anywhere I go, I see someone, but yeah. I haven't seen anyone. It's been kind of nice. I'm kind of more into the inner workings of the game, and so I kind of really get into it.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. That when you're watching that level of baseball, that's a blast.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and it's still pure and wholesome. And you see the parents cheering, and the girlfriends are there, and in Major League Baseball, you never see anything like that. And so,
do you and not to sound like I'm not paying attention, but is it over yet, or is it?
Nope, it concludes Sunday. It runs from June 16th to June 26th.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I don't know. I know there's one playback game, so I think there's only one game today, and then I don't think they play until Friday at that point. So
okay. Well, cool.
But yeah, so I know we got a little real estate thing happening out there called "What's Happening in the Market."
It's summer, so you're vacationing. I'm vacationing. We're
actually we're not.
I'll get you started with the little something.
Boy, I think that's indicative of what we've all been just talking about and how you perceive things. I mean, like Nick was talking about, the northern Brazil being this horrible place and everyone's talking about it. But until you kind of see and feel it, just like the market, you don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, if you just sat and listened to the news, I mean, you think the apocalypse is coming and that, grab all your money and just buy water and ammunition so you're set for the World War 17, because I think World War 3 has already happened like 17 times.
I tell you, man, there's nothing more freeing in the world than to unplug from social media, unplug from the news, and give yourself even 2 weeks off and watch. By the end of the first week, you're going to be craving that information, right? You're still going, oh, I wonder what's going on. By about the end of the second week, you're like, I am really living stress-free. Nothing's stressing me out. Nothing is freaking me out, and you're just like, this is the way life should be, Yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because yesterday there was a pretty popular social media person. She's the gymnast from LSU, because LSU was playing. Dunn, I think, Libby Dunn, and now she's on Sports Illustrated and stuff like that.
Allegedly, Chris, she's very attractive.
Yeah, she's better in person, by the way. She was right by me where I was sitting. And but it was really interesting watching not only her, but others around them with this whole social media thing. I mean, creating different ways in which to kind of try to get her in the background to kind of say, it was just weird. And then watching her do her social media stuff, because it's what they do. And it's like they try to create situations that maybe aren't even happening in there. And it's just like, it just seems so, it was so fake, but yet, I mean, that girl's a multimillionaire already because of that. So
Did you,
what
questions
looks
did
like
you
a
ask?
really nice person too.
I was going to say, what questions did you ask her at the meet and greet that you went to?
Yeah, we didn't meet and greet. We just went out to dinner instead.
He's like, hey, you want some chicken wings?
Hey,
Wild.
Yeah,
I want to comment on that though, because I know a lot of like a handful of people that do like viral social media content for pages and whatnot, and almost all of it is scripted and fake. And the whole key is to get the viewer, to think it's real, and then get you angry, get you commenting on it, or get you to love it. But all of it is set up basically. I mean, there's barely any more organic content. It's wild, the rabbit hole.
We've been saying that for years, right, Chris?
It's icky, but we talk about the real estate market with that too. I mean, if people would have bought into this thing the whole time, I mean, they're going to pay $100,000 more for their starter home now because they waited. You have to kind of get into the thick of things and know what's going on and talk to people that are in it versus listening to our media for sure. We always talked about that when we had the radio show, right, that all the stats everyone had were always 30 days ago. And so they weren't caught up. And we always kind of build ourselves as hey, this is up to date. This is, exactly what's happening in the market.
Well, I had 2 properties I put on the market this week were in the 5s, and one was in the upper 5s, and both go up, both go down with multiple offers. Most are going over asking price. Most are giving terms where they're waiving inspections. Whatever it is, it's just that these offers are coming in again. And I think that everybody's got this, doom and gloom kind of perspective on things. And in housing right now, that's probably our shining star in the economy still. Even though it's slower, it's still holding its value. Because there's just not a lot of supply. If there was, 4 million houses on the market, which won't happen. And again, people say, well, why not? I'm like, there's a couple things that people focus on right now. One is foreclosures. So, remember guys, during the pandemic, they would not release foreclosures. It was kind of a federal thing. They weren't letting people get foreclosed on. They weren't evicting people, right, Chris, out of the apartments. But that's another challenge, right? So then we got some of those people that are coming off of those reprieves where they're like, I couldn't pay my payments. They weren't going to foreclose on me. And now they're expecting this parachute package and they're not getting it. And so the few people that are trickling through the system, they are getting foreclosed on. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are not paying attention and they're leaving thousands of dollars of equity for those banks to pick up. And it's sad because what I would say is if anybody gets in that situation, and by the way, the percentage is still less than half of what a normal housing market would have for foreclosures. But because there was none, now there's some. It's kind of a big deal. A lot of people want to talk about it. But the other thing is like Chris, you and I have talked about this. They don't give these houses away. These houses are also going into multiple offers with above asking price and no inspections and whatever. So they're still selling as well. Now, the big question is, well, Andy, the house down the street from me has been sitting there for almost a month and nobody's making offers on it. And I say, well, number one, I didn't list that house, of course, so that's why. But number two is they're being greedy. See, there's a lot of people that are not advising or listening to their advisors. They're not looking at the market conditions, and they're overpricing their houses thinking that somebody will come up to that. And that's not the way Minnesota Nice works. Minnesota Nice comes in and they want you to be at a fair price, and then they'll give you good terms, right? Is what I'm saying anyway. How about you?
Yeah, I do. I think that for the majority of pricing homes, you need to be, you got to be smart about it because the price typically usually finds itself. And if you overprice it, it doesn't happen. But I also see that there's some really good listings out there that have been sitting for a while. I just ran into one that was like almost 2.5 weeks. But I think it's one of those listings that you need to think about just a little bit. And all of a sudden, everyone kind of thinks about it. And then 2.5 weeks later, they're all starting to make offers. And we're in the middle twos on this one. And we're getting multiple offers on it, which is, crazy. But you think after 2 or 3 weeks, that's not going to happen. And then all of a sudden it does. So yeah, I think just sometimes you need to, again, listen to your agent. If they've got a beat on the market and it's not something's not happening immediately, there might be a reason that people have to kind of come to the conclusion and buy into it themselves. And they're all of a sudden, because this is what I've experienced. I've seen like, okay, we go into a house, gosh, I really like it. I do like it. I like the fact that it's close to the mall. We got great access to freeways, but gosh, I don't know. Maybe there's something else that's going to come on. Then all of a sudden, a week later, you're like, oh boy, I still like that house. Nothing's coming on. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go after that house. And all of a sudden, someone else wants it. So it doesn't have to happen in that first day or two. Sometimes it happens in a couple of weeks, but there's also, you have to kind of be realistic and really look at what other buyers are looking at. And if they're looking at other houses that give them more than what yours does, your house is just going to sit. And eventually, because there's people out there trying to look for deals, they're going to come in and lowball you. And once they do, then that seller's thinking like, oh my gosh, is anyone else going to like it? If they don't like it, I'm going to keep going down further. I better grab this right now. So be patient in some cases as well.
Well, and I think the other thing,
assessment.
Yeah. And, and the other thing is when you're meeting with a real estate agent, make sure that real estate agent's giving you what I call an appraisable value. Because there's one thing, like I was sitting with a gentleman yesterday and we're talking about what the house is worth. The replacement cost is well over $1 million, but street value, based on where you picked to build it and the amount of materials you overpriced your house, you might not only take $200,000 bath, but the market, the house isn't going to appraise. And so there's also that little kind of catch. And right now the banks are really watching appraisable values because they're like, we watched everybody last year jack these prices up 50,000, putting the guaranteed appraisal gaps on there and everything else. Prices artificially went high, but you got to remember those exceptions are not the norm. So when people are getting, they list at 400 and get 450. Well, that's because somebody offered 50,000 in cash over because they were tired of the fight. They chose to give up $50,000 of future equity on the front end just to not have to fight the fight. Now, will that ever come back? Potentially. But, the one thing I was going to say, Chris, and kind of I apologize why the economy is not going to fail. Number one is the foreclosures. We've talked about like what's going on. But number two, if you really look at what's out there now, a lot of people are on fantastic interest rates where, we're talking about like under 4%, they're in the 3s, some are in the high 2s. Those people's payments are so low and they have so much equity. They cannot, even though they say, you know what, hey, I want to upgrade my house. They look at, okay, now we have a $200,000 mortgage on this house. Our payment is, $1,200 a month. And we want to go to $1 million house. Now it goes to $6,000 a month because interest rates have doubled and it's not proportionally the same, right? So going from 200 to $1 million, you'd be like, okay, the ratios aren't there. The other thing is some people can't find a place to go. So they start looking in the looking process, even though they're paying cash. Let's say they own their house free and clear, like 38% of the market does. And they come back and say, I'm going to go buy something. And they feel like they're getting ripped off. A lot of empty nesters are in that position right now where they have the McMansion that they built with 4,000 finished square feet. And now they want to downsize to an 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, Rambler slab on grade with a nice 2-car garage, a little space for dad for a shop. See it all the time. And it's $450. And their house is only worth $650. And they're like, we'll just live where we're going to live and we're going to continue. I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of things in there that are going to say this market's going to stay stuck where it is, which isn't bad, but it is. So I don't see a crash of any kind.
I'm with you, buddy.
Awesome. Hey, let's get into our Minnesota luxury real estate spotlight. We're going to go to a home in Wayzata. It's going to be brought to you by Chris Rooney, Home Experts.
I was just 1 year old when my family started in real estate, where both my parents were agents. They also dabbled in investing in real estate, rentals, flips, and construction. After college, I went right into getting my license in July of 1990. As a 23-year-old agent in an industry that looks nothing like today, I had to know more for my clients to choose me. There wasn't Zillow or social media to tell them how good I was. I had to win them over with knowledge. With knowledge comes confidence, and with confidence comes results.
Just one quick question for you, Chris. On your commercial,
It never gets old, does it?
When you're laying on the couch and you're on the phone, is that a Pabst Blue Ribbon on the table right next to you, or is that a Pepsi?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't think I ever drank Pepsi, so it
Well,
might be a
number
Pabst.
one, first of all, your commercial makes me miss your father because it starts out and you got Phil in the front. And then I'm like, dang, lost one of the good boys. And then all of a sudden I go, wait, there's Chris. Is he holding the beer? I love it. I think your commercial is better than my stupid Made in the Office one.
I had a guy make that. I got to probably redo some things. But do I look exactly like that? It's probably 4 years ago.
I think you look better. You've become much more handsome.
More distinguished? Is the hair getting?
You kind of glow from the inside now.
Okay, let's do this spotlight. Oh boy. Well, we're talking about Wyzetta. It is beautiful. I mean, gosh, do you remember the days, Andy, when we used to talk about $1 million was unbelievable? And then it was like, well, you're not going to get over 2. Now 3 is like, I mean, it's nice, but it's not.
When I was a little tyke, my dad and I were looking at the parade of homes, and there back in the day was a builder named Michael Halley Homes. Do you remember Michael Halley?
No.
Okay. He was one of the first builders in the parade to ever have a house that was over $1 million. And I still remember the house. Had a big round window on the front and went through and I couldn't believe that this house, it's like, they have to be a movie star to afford $1 million house. I agree with you. So we've seen quite a progress.
Yeah, it is. And now you look at those old houses like that, and you're like, gosh, they didn't know nothing. But here we go. This is under 5,000 square feet, 4-bedroom, 4-bath. What is it? Almost on an acre of land. Why don't you start going through some pictures, Nick? I don't know this one. I haven't seen it. Obviously, Ramblers are a big thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it basically spans different buyers. I mean, look at that. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
wow. That whole pool. Yeah. Night photos do. Look at that.
It just looks like it's ready for a party, doesn't it?
Boy, I want that. There's another house in Prior Lake that's got that same thing. I mean, their landscaping's got to be $1.5 million alone. But yeah, I mean, with the pool, this is what's called, when we talk about lifestyle living, this is what we're talking about. This is where you can just see yourself having a get together there or having clients. There's a lot of people in business world that have events and they have them at their houses. I mean, and it's almost like you think about it, it's like, geez, this is an expensive house, but if it's actually going to help you in your business and make you more money, it's almost like it's a prop or a tool or a marketing piece as well.
Yeah, 100%. Look at that. That pool house is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part. People go, oh, that's a pool house, no big deal. Pool house can be $250,000 nowadays.
Oh, you bet it can. I mean, that's all day. That's that.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's also kind of, when you were just talking about appraisals, Andy, that's a hard thing to appraise. Like where's the value in that? It's not like it's finished square footage, so they can't put that on here. So now we have a $3 billion home that's 4,900 square feet competing against 8,000 square foot homes selling for the same thing, but they don't have this. So that's where cash comes into play.
Oh, there's Andy.
Look at that. That's Andy Prasky.
That is Andy Prasky 101 right there.
Yes, it is.
Oh, God, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can tell they're focusing on it. Now, this home was built in 2005, so let's see the interior, if they've made some changes in there. So, because they're focusing, what are we on? Picture 26, 27, 28? Yeah, and we're still all focused on the exterior of the house. So I bet you we're going to see, it's what we're going to see is 2005 decor. They updated the painting. The center fireplace, that was a big thing, to create walkways around the fireplace, face each other. That was a big 2004 to 2006 piece right there. All the windows, feels like a cabin almost.
It's cool. I like the round in there too, around the dining area or whatever that is. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of details in there.
Yeah.
I mean, with the beams and the soffits and
That has a lot of eye candy. There you go. There's your round room.
Yeah.
I've always thought that was impressive when you can have a contractor throw a couple round walls in a house and make them look nice. That's the trick.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, Andy. So something like this with these countertops, you know, I mean, what photo are we on again, Nick? Is it 40 something? What is it? 45? Okay. We got taking 45 pictures to get to the kitchen to me is like, okay, that's unusual, but this is the reason why, because this to me totally shows you 2005. I think if they would have updated those countertops and or the backsplash, I think you would have seen that picture a lot earlier than what you're seeing it now, because there is some, I mean, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. Some people really like it, but you got to remember.
I was going to say, I don't think I've done a raised panel cabinet in the kitchen for 15 years.
And the fact that they're stained, I mean, even doing the island something different, you know, at this point, you're like, that woodwork is unbelievable. It's awesome. And you got to cover it up, but that's what you have to do. Because
you start looking at things like the fluted column legs on that island and you go, well, you know, now those are dating it. And I agree.
And you're hoping that the outside kind of overshadows it. And I think in this case it will, because I think there's a lot of real nice things. But I just think if you would have added maybe just a few of those other things into it, your property is probably a lot more marketable.
And so what you're saying, Chris, and interestingly enough, is like, let's say you spent $100,000 and 50 grand updating your kitchens and your bathrooms. Now, when you're asking $3 million, they walk in and go, I don't have to do anything. And you might get it, versus them coming in and going, renovation of a kitchen's 150, 200,000, and let's offer 2.8.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what's hard for realtors to be able to tell sellers, because it's beautiful. I mean, it's amazing. But here's what you got to think about. And when you don't do that, you start losing a couple $100,000 that maybe you shouldn't have lost. And I think when you get into that price point, people don't think a couple $100,000 is a lot, but it is. That's a lot of money, you know, and it can make you a heck of a nice little lifestyle porch on the next house as well.
I wouldn't leave a couple $100,000 laying on a park bench. You know what I'm saying?
It's all the woodwork. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's crazy.
They put in a ton of work, but there's a lot of wood.
Yep. Very cool.
Those are my new favorite rooms of houses, by the way.
Screen porch?
Screen porches, yep. Yeah.
Got that heavy crown. What do you think about the heavy crown everywhere? That is something that, I mean, in every room they've got that heavy ceiling crown. You like that, or is that getting too heavy?
It's sometimes it's just too much. And especially with all that woodworking. I mean, the cabinetry is, again, it's amazing. But sometimes when it's too much, it's just like it's overwhelming for people in which to be able to see.
Agreed.
I think I would have on this one. Who knows? I don't know the status of this, but I think I would have done a lot less photos of this one and not shown so much of the wood and or the outside, because you have to basically show everything inside because you've got every angle from the outside. And again, I think this thing is impressive looking, but look at how you add that white in there. Now, once you have that white in there, it kind of changes it, but you still have that 2006 tile. So maybe, I don't know. It's kind of like you really have to analyze it, and it'll sell for sure because it's beautiful. Yeah. But it's just getting to that point that.
But what you're doing is you're helping them anticipate people's expectations at that price point.
Yeah.
And you shop with buyers in this price point. So you know exactly, what they expect.
And Andy, trying to rebuild this at this price is probably impossible. Right. I mean, the amount of money they have into this is, crazy. The cabinetry.
Right.
I mean, that would make a cabinet company's year filling this thing up.
We just don't put that much woodwork in houses nowadays.
Right. Yep. So,
Well, that's cool. All right. Well, I like
very
that.
nice listening, though.
You're welcome. What?
You have a really nice house, Andy. That was nice. I didn't mean to talk so
It's
bad
one of
about
my
the
rentals. I'm trying to dump. I'm trying to reinvest the cash somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, I see you had your Adrian Peterson jersey up too.
No, I was the original AP. I'm older than him.
He has been retired, I think, for a few years, and you might want to get a new one. Alexander Madison jersey.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
All right, boys, I got some Minnesota real estate news. Kind of scary, especially for people my age, like we've talked about. Let me present the link here. Typical renters in Minneapolis can only afford to buy 24% of homes available. That's a big talking point right now.
And in reality, I think that's kind of interesting. That 24% renters can afford to be able to do that. So I don't know. I look at that as not a horrible thing. I mean, are they able to qualify? Is that what this article is saying? That they're able to only qualify for 24% of them? So 24% of the people are choosing to rent versus purchase is how I look at that.
Well, and there's just some people, that's a lifestyle thing. That's a mental block for a lot of people. I don't want to be an owner. I want to be a renter. And that's okay. Hey, you pay somebody else's mortgage and you're okay with that. Good for you.
I agree. I agree. And I think there's some value to that for some people, if they need to kind of keep their flexibility, if they use their cash for other things. Everyone talks about a home as the greatest investment you can make, but there's other investments that they make as well. So there's tax benefits and really nice incentives by owning your home and living in it for 2 years for tax credit. But
yep.
It's not the all end all kind of situation either. You can definitely rent, but you're stuck.
I gotta step in here, guys, because I'm always on Reddit. I'm in tune with the millennials, the Generation Z, and trust me, if they could own a home instead of renting, they 90%, 95% of them would. Guaranteed, but it is not as easy as it sounds nowadays.
Well, let me help you a little bit here, Nick, with your perspective. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your perspective, but think about this. In Minnesota, we've averaged between 63% to 72% homeownership ratio in the state of Minnesota. So what does that leave us with? Sometimes between 28 and 34% of the population that's left in Minnesota that doesn't own. And so you're talking about 30% of the population. Now you take 24% of those. So now we're talking about what, 9,000 people that can afford to buy, but they choose not to. And the rest of them sometimes are choosing careers that don't allow them to save money, or they don't have enough income, or they went to college and spent $200,000 to get a degree, and now they're an art teacher and the ratios aren't there. And I'm not making fun of it. I'm saying it's unfortunate that some of these, by the way, that gets me into a whole different soapbox of where, if you're a college and you offer a degree, the cost of that degree should be proportionate to what you're going to earn when you get out in the real world. So if you're an art teacher, for example, your degree should be free. If you're going to be, and I'm being honest with you, if you're going to be in finance, I get it. You're going to make millions of dollars. That's different. But that's a whole different soapbox. But that's kind of where I was going with it, you guys, is that it's the ratios are actually a lot tighter than you think. And there's not like droves of people that are just homeless walking around saying, oh man, we got screwed. There's actually very few people.
Well, the other thing is Nick and his millennial talk here of people wanting to be able to get in and buy this house. They ain't willing. They ain't willing to go to South Dakota and live in South Dakota where they could easily buy a home and totally be fine. I mean, they want everything and then add a house onto it as well. Make it affordable. Give me everything I ever wanted. I mean, give me the Suez Canal and a skyscraper and the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Prior Lake, and then give me a house for $200,000. That doesn't happen that way.
You need to get yourself a nice woman, and you guys just head west and go stake a claim somewhere where Chris lives. I don't know where
Yeah.
We're gonna settle this land.
Hey, look, I think there's definitely two sides to the story. I think your points are good too, but I definitely think there's some issues out there for the younger people. But we've chatted about it all the time. And now that I think about it, a lot of my friends, I mean, I don't really hang out with losers or associate with them. They're able to buy homes in Minnesota. So maybe this Reddit talk and this social media talk is more from the coastal people, or that's what I'm seeing. They're more of the loud minority.
Can I ask you a quick question? Do you put any blame onto the educational system for not teaching you how to manage money or
100%.
to get ahead?
100%. Yeah. I mean,
I truly think the public schools nowadays teach people to be good employees, and you need to do your test on this timeline. And you fail, and you have to be to work. You know, it's crap. It's like the real world doesn't work like the schools do. They don't teach like the schools do. All these educational systems are teaching people that you have to fit into this box or you don't fit in. And it's crazy to me that is allowed to happen. I think the first thing you should teach humans is skills, like how to survive. Here's how if you, for whatever reason, there's an apocalypse, you need to go hunting. Here's how you can provide food for yourself. Here's how you grow vegetables. Here's how you pay your bills. Here's how you sign a lease. Here's how you do. Crossing your T's and dotting your I's is important too, but that doesn't feed your family sometimes, right? So it's like, I just think that there's some basic like skills that are not being taught right now. And I, like I've said, we've tried to interject into those systems, and they'll let you come in once in a while and give a 1 hour talk. I've done it, but those kids are so far on the other side of, we'll just Uber Eats our meal, and then we'll take an Uber to the bar, and then I'm going to order new clothes online and have them delivered to the bar so I look good at the bar. And it's like, it's just a different world, man. They're mushy.
Yeah, 100%. And now too, with the internet and the phones, you have all the access at your fingertips. And luckily, there are people that if they want to learn, they can learn a ton. Like I started getting back on Twitter right now, and it's remarkable the amount of information about online business, nomadic life that I've learned. And I've been doing this for a while, right? So I agree. It's both sides got to take accountability. I've been saying I am so grateful I was born in this time, because I couldn't do this same lifestyle 10 years ago. I couldn't be connected everywhere, make all the money online, do all these different things. So I think I'm leveraging the opportunity as best I possibly can. But I'm telling you, a lot of people think opposite living in the United States right now that are younger. So,
well, think about this too. If you put your, different hat on, right, and you do, and you think against the grain, right, and you start saying to yourself, hey, if my whole generation wants to be renters, and then as these older people start dying and those people are not buying their houses, there might be a huge grab available to you to accumulate assets and build wealth. And you know what I mean? There's always a different way to look at things. And I think that it's being smart, understanding the processes, knowing what the consumer is looking for, and then capitalizing on that opportunity. That's a capitalistic market, right?
100%. I'm just being the counter argument, because we even get comments on YouTube that come after you guys saying, "Oh, okay, boomer, you have no idea, boomer." So just getting both sides of the story.
Well, here's the thing: we're not baby boomers, number one. Yeah. But number two is that
Gen X.
We're the ones that maybe should be upset about. I mean,
we got screwed.
This is my kid that's traveled 90% more than I've ever traveled, or been to 100 different countries and done everything in the world, and he's 27 years old, for God's sakes. And now I had to sit here and earn money and buy all these stupid properties, have renters stiff me all the time. And so, I mean, I should be upset.
Think about this. And then the generation above us. Well, my dad was a gas station attendant, and mom stayed home with our 10 kids. And we, and I'm like, and then we had one car, and then we bought the house on Gull Lake for $6,000. And I go, so you were a gas station attendant, and you had 10 kids, and you bought a house on Gull Lake in Brainerd as a secondary home, and you were making the ratios are completely off, and the opportunities are not there. And I was an electrician, and I bought a 13-unit apartment building back in the day, and it was $100 because the guy was going broke. Those opportunities don't come along for us either. So you look at that generation ahead of us, I say the get lucky generation, not the whatever. They had it easy, man. They've had the best economic boom we've ever seen in the history of America, for the generation above us, Chris.
Yeah.
And they were never unemployed. They had great booms. They had the biggest equity gains. They had the most opportunities. And now they're sitting there with all the money, and everybody's like, well, wait, what happened? We changed the rules, man. We started spending all the money. We started wasting. We took ourselves off the gold. We did all these gold standards. We did all these crazy things now that are creating a very big challenge, a very big hill to climb for the generations, the X's, the millennials, and the Gen Zs. And the part of it is, I hate to say it this way because I want to sound like a conspiracist, but it comes down to where you almost think that the system's designed to take the wealth away from those that have it. And it's like they're not giving it to the young, and you're not getting it for free. And it's like the older ones are getting it taken away. And you get to a point where you go, okay, wait a minute. You got to be smart, people. You got to start investing in yourselves. You got to, if you rely on anybody other than yourself, you're going to fail. And you know what I mean?
Could you imagine us, Andy, back when we were in, let's just say, high school, being able to travel and go over to Germany? Kids did, but it was like cost prohibitive to go over there. There's no way you do it. We were told, oh my gosh, you'd have to travel across the sea and you don't know nothing. I don't have a little smartphone to be able to tell me exactly where to go, how to speak Portuguese, how to speak, Brazilian, whatever they speak, to be able to get around and do things. And now all of a sudden, Nick can go over there. He can go make, and he's got friends that do this, that can make $5,000-$6,000 during the summer here and live an ungodly life, beautiful life, and travel the world the rest of the 7 months with the money they made in the summer.
I remember when we were kids, Chris, not to sound like an old fart, but like when I was back in the day, we were going to football camps. And that was my parents. We had a pool in the backyard. We had the grandparents with the cabin. We were entrepreneurs. But when it would come to spending money on your kids, it wasn't done the way it is done today, or the investment or the opportunities were not given. Like do you remember Lou Holtz? So I remember Lou Holtz was his first year as a Gophers head coach. And I was like, oh my God, Dad, I have to go to Lou Holtz's football camp. And if I don't go to Lou Holtz's football camp, there's no chance of me making the NFL. And he's like, okay, you're going to sell houses or cabinets like I did, but let's pretend and that was such a big, I had to work my ass off. I had to mow the grass all summer to pay for, I think it was like $110 camp. And I'd get $3 every time I'd mow the grass. And, so I know that I was always forced to be a worker to get things that I wanted. And I know that I'm not saying that people have it easy. I'm not going to say that because if we grew up in the times that are today too, we'd probably be different people too. But technology can be your friend and your enemy because I think it makes things so easy for some people that they don't understand that life is actually hard. It's not easy. The apps are easy, but most people that live on apps are broke because they can't afford it. Well, I Uber Eated last night and it was $90 for cheeseburger and macaroni. And you're like, you don't make $90 a day.
Damn, I'm getting like 80 pieces of sushi for $15 delivered.
See, that's beautiful.
All right, Andy, it's time for you to show us your magic. We need to find the best cabin in the best cabin town in Minnesota. So it's gonna be brought to you by you, Andy Presky. Let me find there we go.
My homemade. Well, they said I could have 30 seconds on the show for a quick ad. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus, Andy@Prasky.com if you want to email us. Here's the thing, 22 years in the business, over 1,400 sales. I'd like to help you with your real estate needs. If that's buying, if that's selling, if that's building, whatever it is, give us a call, send us an email. Let's get you started on your real estate journey. I'd like to help you on the way. Lots of experience here, and I would like to put it to work for you. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus. Thanks for listening to the show. I got to redo that.
I like the car at the end.
I didn't even do that.
I know. Nick. But I like that. That's you. So this is a perfect segment for you.
I'm sorry, what am I supposed to be doing?
Best cabin town in Minnesota. It's all on you.
You guys suck. What do you mean best cabin town in Minnesota? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you do.
All right. Listen. Okay. Depends on your age. But I'll tell you what. If you were to head up into northern Minnesota, okay, because it says cabin towns on the north, what you look at is if you're older, you want to have access to hospitals and healthcare, right? You want good fishing lakes. Maybe you want a lake that's quiet or whatever. And I think one of the best towns as a whole is the Brainerd Lakes area. I really like that area because it has all the modern amenities. Now it's very expensive, so it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people. You look at areas like I have over in Alex, Same thing again, great hospitals, great jobs, good whatever else. And it's starting to become affordability challenge there as well. I don't know about you, Chris, but there's also lake communities in the river communities. There's south, there's and then you get up to these smaller lakes way up north. So the best cabin town, boy, cabin to me does not mean lake home or $3 million. Let's flex our muscles and show how much money we have kind of houses. So I don't know. I guess I'm kind of torn. I should have done more research, but
it's almost like how you fit in. You know what I mean? I mean, are you a fisherman? Are you do you use the lake for, jet skiing and surfing? I mean, these surf boat things are getting really kind of blasted. I mean, are you a conservation lake type person? Do you just like the peace and solitude, And I think you're right. I mean, you go on Whitefish Chain. I mean, you're spending $2 million for a cabin. If you go to Pepin, you might spend $200,000 for a little place kind of in a downtown, but it feels like kind of a old cabin artistic area that it's just a great place to get away from the world and really kind of lower your stress level.
Well, the thing about a cabin doesn't necessarily have to be in water either, Chris. I mean, we could actually have a cabin where we're up in the middle of the woods for, maybe you like the ATV and you actually want to just be in a beautiful surrounding and you ride your side-by-side everywhere and have fun. And I know a lot of people are doing that up in northern Minnesota too.
Let's do this, Andy. What do you consider a cabin? What is a cabin to you?
To me, I think we're going to the cabin as we're going someplace where there's water and water recreation, a place to jump in the lake on the hot summer and relax. You know what I mean? And hang out with your friends and family, grill, go for boat rides. If you got jet skis, have fun with the jet skis, get up early, go fishing. Maybe on Saturday night you go to town for supper and,
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because I think some other people might look at it like, you know what, I want to be on a good recreational lake.
Right.
It's got to have good internet so I could get my work done if I need to be able to get it done. You got to have restaurants because I really don't want to cook. I don't want that time to waste cooking. So I want to have restaurants there. And it's so interesting. When we grew up, we had it was a trailer home on a lot on Green Lake. And that's what it was. I mean, we basically had outhouses and we fixed food outside. And I mean, it was like every meal. And to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I mean, this is like Naked and Afraid, version before Naked and Afraid was Naked and Afraid. And, so I don't know. I think I look at cabin more as, like where you have your place. I mean, you can kind of maybe get a fix of both. You can kind of get away and have that solitude, but hey, I can whip down to 5 other restaurants, that have great food and there's people around and it's not too far to go to as well. I think that's a big thing about a cabin.
Think about this too. Let's say in the morning, you get up early on a Saturday morning and you don't want to go fishing or it's raining and you want to run to town and just pick up some, cinnamon rolls or whatever and bring them back for the family, have kind of a little treat for everybody. I like to be in an area. To me, I like to be in an area where I can do that. That's why I love Alexandria, the area there, because they have the amenities, they have the bakeries, they have all the different supply places you'd want, from lumber yards to fleet farms to you name it, and then they still have some of the resorty kind of little fun restaurants too that are fun to head off to,
Yeah. Nope, I'm with you.
So I mean, obviously, I like Alexandria. I wouldn't have bought there, but that's my personal favorite.
But was it because you were familiar with it though, too? I mean, was that where your grandparents were?
Yeah, Lisa's family's there, but
Okay.
yeah. So a couple things. I got a kick out of when you go into like the Eldon's grocery store, and granted I'm very lucky. I don't have to worry about walking in, and I'm not couponing, even though I probably should. But I walk in there because I like that. Morning, sir. How you doing today? Oh, great. Yeah, didn't I see you in here last week? Thanks for being a return shopper. I'm like, I love that stuff, right? I mean, I love that small town kind of vibe to it, right? And I think that there's, or like when I was last week, I was walking out of the store and I had one of these frozen pizzas because I figured there'd be a day where I wouldn't have the family or else I'd have it for myself. And this guy stops me and goes, "Hey, excuse me." He goes, "I've been eyeballing that pizza last couple times I've been in here." He goes, "Is that pretty good?" And it's Crazy Mike's like pizza or whatever. And I go, "Actually, it's fantastic." And the guy goes, "All right, I'm going to go back in and get one." Yeah. And I'm like, that stupid stuff like that is just, or you're filling up the jet ski up at the gas station and somebody will stop and say, "Oh, where are you going out today?" They care. I feel like you're back in the 70s with the, I don't know. I like it, but
you would be the perfect hardware store owner. You would be. People would come in there just to talk to Andy. You'd have all these extra little things. Like you'd probably sell like mini donuts out of there.
I'd be the only guy that owns a bait shop that runs a bait shop and doesn't know what to tell people. But I'd be like in there. I'd love to talk to people where they're catching fish and share their stories and,
Hey, Andy, so give me your 3 best kind of like luxury cabin lives and then the 3 best what you just described in Minnesota. Just list the 3 cities, towns.
Well, if you're going for big money, I mean, it's hard to beat the Brainerd Lakes area. I mean, there's $30 million houses on Gull Lake. I mean, it's crazy. Some of the nicest out in Cross Lake and all of the Whitefish Chain, the whole thing up there, there's tons of beautiful, expensive homes. So, the one thing I'd say is that I always worry about like, well, you want to be where there's other big homes. Well, I don't think that's necessary anymore because most of those homes that are being bought by buyers, they're not financing them. They're writing out a check and it's more of an asset for them, lifestyle thing. They, I don't know. So those are probably my top couple areas for, if I was going to spend, $5 million or more, I'd probably build up in that area.
No, and then 3 of the ones you were just describing, the small town feel, the bakery, easy.
Yeah, but on the cabin, the lake that I'm on right now, I mean, you can't get on that lake for under 600. I mean, that's not chicken scratch. I mean, so it's like you start looking at that and you start looking at some of the houses that are on there. Like we've got Brock Lesnar, his place is worth like $3 million. And, so you get there's an island where the guy owns a 17-acre island by himself, has like a 10,000 square foot log home. I mean, what's that worth? $10 million? I mean, and down the road, they had a place that was listed on, I forget what that was. It was like a $33 million complex with multiple homes for each kid. They had a movie theater. They had their own car wash, their own 50s grill. I mean, this place was unbelievable. And that was kind of trying to remember the name of the lake that was on, but it's just right down the road from us. And he was an advertising executive or something like that made it big. And so anyway, so that's all there, but it's so affordability wise though, like I know I just saw a comment come in on Facebook. Greg, who lives up there, and Alex was saying, like Lake Mary has like, I don't know what he said, 10 or 12 resorts and 12 resorts. Yeah. And that's one of the last holdouts, which is great because families go there to fish. When I was a kid, actually went to Lake Mary with our family. And fun fishing, great hangouts, just outside of Alex, kind of on the south side of town there. So a lot of fun. Oh, Big Chip. Yeah, that's right. Lake Chippewa is where that big house is. So yeah. And it was, it's quite the facility.
Hey, we're asking the wrong person about the cabins. We got to get Greg.
We should get Greg, the expert. Look at him. Andy's cabin has perhaps the best beach in the state. Thank you, Greg.
Well, maybe he should put a house on it or something rather than just have sand there. Do you have a tent?
We yes, we do. It's very nice. It's insulated and we live up there in the winter. I'm just excited. I built a kayak rack last week I'm baby stepping this thing, man.
Dude,
put some chairs up there. Those Adirondack or whatever they're called chairs.
Maybe this is going to be a social media story for you. Andy on a kayak.
Oh my God. I sink them.
Selling cabin lives.
Yeah, we bought a 12-foot board, those fiberglass boards you stand on. And I get on it.
Paddleboard.
Yeah, it was an O'Brien or O'Neill or something. And I get on it and it literally goes bloop, bloop. And Lisa goes, You're doing that intentionally. I go, it barely sits out of the water. When she's on it, it floats on top of the water. I'm like, whatever. I sink that little sucker. It's only 13-footer.
You just have to get moving. You go faster. You create waves.
Well, yeah, it's called a motor. It's called, let's get a boat and actually use it. I don't need to show off and paddle for anybody.
Exactly.
All right, boys, we got to answer the big debates here. This or that, Minneapolis or St. Paul. We're talking about real estate, okay?
St. Paul.
I will.
I'm going with St. Paul.
So, and not to be Mr. Details, but you guys always kind of take me down the wrong path. What are we talking about? Proper, or are we talking about like suburbs, or what are we talking about?
Proper.
Talking
We're gonna
about
go through the cities. So buy
city.
where should you buy, and then go through different situations like a new family or just retired, or who should stay in what city. Just go really big into detail, compare them, contrast them, and make your decision.
I'm just not much of the city guy anymore.
I'm not either.
Everything that's kind of been happening and going on. I mean, it's hard for me to kind of promote it. And I think that's important. I mean, and I think there's a lot of agents out there that just absolutely love the city life and what it's about. But obviously, Andy and I both kind of work more of the suburbs. And but going into, I don't know. I think I'm a little more excited about St. Paul. I think there's some real rich history there. I think the downtown's navigable a lot better than I think what Minneapolis is. And I just
you don't think their downtown is kind of dead though? I mean,
Well, yeah,
other than the wild games and the occasional
both are.
concert.
Both are, but I like that. Yeah, and I guess when I think of downtown St. Paul, I think of Excel Center, and everything that's around there. And I've always enjoyed that area and kind of just a lot
Saints,
of
the Saints are kind of fun too.
They're much closer. Yeah, the Saints, the CHS field is fun as well. It just feels like it's not as overwhelming as what Minneapolis seems to be. And it might be just a size thing for me.
What about where you'd live though in St. Paul? So if you were to live in St. Paul, I mean, are you talking like along Summit Avenue, the historic part of town? Are you talking like
Mac Groveland?
Yeah,
the kind of the Mac Groveland area, St. Thomas, that kind of a feel.
Yep.
And or just a condo right down in the thick of things down there. So
we've got one coming in Linden Hills, and that is a cool little part of town, man. You got the river on both sides of you. You're literally, if you threw a stone, you'd hit Minneapolis St. Paul Airport there, and you can just sneak right across and get to the airport. Linden Hills is a nice little sleeper part of town.
But then then you look at Minneapolis, you look around the lakes and Nokomis, and it's just that's fun too, But that's, to me, that's kind of on the outskirts of the city versus what I would consider what Minneapolis is. And so I'm kind of looking at it more as downtown versus downtown. And I mean, we spent every Saturday for 11 years in downtown, and but it's changed. It's changed ever since COVID hit. And the action is a lot less now. Maybe some crime, and maybe this is just my feelings on it, is higher. That you're concerned more. I mean, I was never concerned walking around, going to a Twins game before, but some of the stories you hear, it's just like, I don't know.
When you see people talking to themselves and walking around, I'm not trying to be the solution for homelessness, but it seems like there's a lot of people that choose to be on drugs and just walk around and talk crazy and run around with no shoes on nowadays. And you say it's by choice, but they're not mentally ill. They're on drugs, and they're just, I don't know. It's crazy to me. But it's I misspoke. I meant Highland. Is what I was talking about in St. Paul. I wasn't talking about Linden Hills.
The Highland area is great.
No, Highland is where we got the new property coming on here in a week or two, and just a great little area.
Hey, hold on. What about Murderapolis in the 90s? You think it's more dangerous than then, or what?
No, but see, they used to literally, Hennepin Avenue was where all the, the street, walkers would live, and there was drugs and street walkers and all kinds of, when we were, I think when we were kind of kids, and then they cleaned it up. It took them years to clean up downtown. And then it seems like currently, no offense, but this new, the mayor that's in town seems to not care about downtown and has let it go to hell in a matter of about 3 years. I mean, it's like, and it's really easy to go to hell and it's really hard to come back. And it's like, they're
takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. Yep.
Takes a lot. And I think that not a lot of people realize that, and they're all still just living in the moment, and they're still living in their areas. But I'll tell you what, so good. I have a good friend, and one of my brother lives in right on the edge of Lowry Hill and kind of in the Kenwood area there, and they actually all have private policing being done in those neighborhoods. So beyond the police department, which they say never shows up, if you will, to a call unless it's like horrific. And so they have a neighborhood, they call them a neighborhood greeter. And what's interesting is that they're like, hey, enough is enough. So let's just say that you're walking around down the street, and some people will say this is, you name the items that they name that this is doing, but they'll stop and they'll say, hey, how you guys doing? Welcome to the neighborhood. Where can we direct you? Oh, you're looking for the Johnsons? They live right up the street over here. Let me help you get there. You guys want to ride? And these officers are like, well, and just let you know, if you need anything else, we'll be right around the corner. So if you need anything, let us know. We're here for you. And all of a sudden these criminals are like, dang, now we've been spotted, and they leave. And so they've literally, the consumer, or the whatever you want to call it, residents taking control of their own neighborhood, and they all pay $3,000 extra or whatever it is a year, and that affords them to have patrols going 24/7 in their area. And it's off duty. It's not, I don't even know if it's, I think it's security. I don't even know if it's police. But the idea there is just to do what they thought their tax dollars were going to do for them.
Mm-hmm. What's crazy to me is, like, from everything I hear what you guys say, I went there one time during the pandemic. I did feel a little on edge. And yes, I did get my necklace stolen in Brazil, but I think Brazil might be a little safer maybe than the cities now. That's a little crazy to think about, huh?
Well, yeah. I'm not into carjacking, so I stay away from it.
But anyways, beautiful show. Hey guys, here's our link tree. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, give us a review, like us. If you have property to sell or buy, you let us know. Send us in any questions you have. And until next week, ciao, ciao.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Real Estate Radio Hour. Don't forget to visit our website, realestateradiohour.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast listening app. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or sharing us with a friend. Until next time, stay awesome, Twin Cities.